Newt Gingrich has had what some people view as a rough 24 hours as he tries to win over Florida's crucial Hispanic voting bloc. His campaign took down a Spanish-language radio ad that described Mitt Romney as being anti-immigrant. That was under pressure from one of the state's highest-profile Hispanic leaders, Senator Marco Rubio, who has not endorsed anyone. Rubio said this kind of language is more than just unfortunate. It's inaccurate, inflammatory, and doesn't belong in this campaign. Former Congressman and Florida Attorney General Bill McCollum is state co-chair of the Gingrich campaign. Thanks so much, Bill. Good to see you again. Let's talk about the tactics and some of the rhetoric. I mean, most recently today, Newt Gingrich called Romney all kinds of names. There was the anti-immigrant allegation that he took down in that ad. Is this thing getting too nasty, and couldn't this backfire against Gingrich?
Well, I think the fact of the matter is, Andrea, that it all got started with Romney the other night coming on very boldly. He's got a lot of ads going on in Florida right now that are accusing Newt of things that simply aren't true, with people who are surrogates that have selective memories of the days in Congress when I served there, and I know better. But I think it all is going to boil down to this. The public in Florida, the Republicans basically, are frustrated with government, the size of government, the way things are going in the economy, and they're looking for the candidate who is not representing Wall Street, who is representing Main Street, who's going to be able to take on the establishment, and they believe will take on President Obama the right way with a bold plan. And Newt has the boldest ideas, and that's what it's going to come down to. After all of this rhetoric back and forth, it's going to be about the fact that Newt favors lower taxes than Mitt Romney does by a long shot. He favors doing away with the capital gains tax altogether, things we've talked about in the Republican side and the conservative side since the 1980s. He's very strongly committed to health care reform in ways that cannot be discussed adequately by Governor Romney, because he's got one arm tied behind his back, having embraced Romney Care and much of what is in Obamacare in Massachusetts. All he can say is, I'm in favor of repeal it, let the states decide it. And I think that's all going to come out in the next 3 or 4 days as the basic critical decision-making posture in this race.
President Obama did an interview with Univision, and this was his response when asked about this very hot Republican race.
They believe that we should not provide a pathway to citizenship for young people who were brought here when they were very young children and are basically American kids, but right now are still in a shadow. They've said that they would veto the DREAM Act, both of them.
Do you want to comment on that?
Well, Andrea, first of all, I've been involved with the immigration issue for years. I served on the subcommittee for almost the whole time I was in Congress, and it's a volatile issue. But the reality is this. The Republicans believe, as I do, the conservatives especially, we need to secure the borders first. Newt Gingrich certainly believes that. But there are differences when it comes to what do we do about those that are here illegally now eventually. After we secure the border. And I think all of us want to see employer sanction enforced, which they haven't been adequately enforced. So people, who are going out employing people illegally today have to stop doing that. And then we have to say, okay, what's left over? And Newt has said, I think much more compassionate than Governor Romney. If you've got a grandmother, you've got somebody been here 25 years or more, then fine, we're going to have to, nobody's really going to deport them and send them away. And if there's somebody who is willing as a young person who's come here to serve in our military, we can get them a pathway to citizenship. They can go in that direction. If there's a young person who's born here already, and many of these are children of illegals who are born here, they're automatically citizens. So, President Obama can say what he does about this. He wants to make that an issue. But the American public as a whole, I think, want a fair and appropriate disposition of immigration. But first and foremost, they want the border control. They're worried about what's going on with Mexico right now and the drug dealing that's there. They're very concerned about radical Islam and its influence coming up from Latin America. And all of those things Newt Gingrich understands very well.
Let me quickly ask you about Nancy Pelosi. She has now tried to explain. She was questioned on Capitol Hill today about what she meant about what she knows about Newt Gingrich, and she said she just meant that it was her instinct that he couldn't be elected. Do you want to respond to what the former speaker said about the other former speaker?
Well, look, Nancy Pelosi I've known a long time. I like her personally. I get along well with her individually, but she's very far to the left. Newt Gingrich is very far to the right. I think she's being very respectful here for a reason. That's because back when those ethics charges were brought along, all of them eventually turned out to be nothing. They were charges that came out of a campaign that Newt was engaged in.
Well, he ended up paying a $300,000 fine.
We were trying to take control of the Congress.
I don't want to relitigate it, but he did end up paying a $300,000 fine.
he wound up paying $300,000 in the court costs to get it off the table long before he resigned as Speaker, and he did it because of the fact that he wanted to try to take the focus away from himself as much as possible and get it off the table. At the end of the day, the IRS exonerated him of the main charge. It was there. All of the others were dropped. And so it's great political fodder today to talk about it, but it takes the focus away from the real issues of substance here, and that is, what are we going to do as a nation to get this economy back on track again? What are we going to do about things like health care? And what are the differences between Romney and Gingrich, who are the two real candidates in this race for Republicans to choose between?
Sorry, we're going to have to leave it there, but we'll see more from both sides in the debate tonight. Thank you very much. It's good to see you again. Thanks for
You're welcome.
joining
Thank
us
you.
from Florida.